Hi guys, I'm Brooke and this is Pippa, and we have been traveling full-time out of my Honda CRV for the last year and a couple months. And today we are going to talk about working while traveling on the road. I know this is the number one question that everybody asks online, and it's, what do you do for work? How do you pay for gas? How do you pay for groceries? How do you do all these things? And for me, I have mentioned quite a few times now that full-time social media is my job now. Before I did that, I have actually a video that explains my job that I did. It's a video from about a year ago when I first moved into the car, and I chose to do online work, but I did supplement it with some other things. So for me, I love educating people on how to live on the road. That's why YouTube has been so fun for me and my TikTok account. But TikTok and YouTube are not short-term social media monetary gains. It took me almost a year of posting on YouTube and TikTok to start making any sort of money. So I feel like you cannot bank on social media to pay your bills. You need to have something to supplement that, even if social media is your end goal. I would never crush somebody's dreams and tell them to not start a blog, to not start a vlogging channel, to not start a TikTok, etc. Please document your travels, show them to all of us, but they're not lucrative in the ways of like monetary gain at the beginning. You need to take time to build up a following and all of that stuff. So I wouldn't bank on that right away, but I do have 20 other jobs that you can do on the road. So first, I'm going to start off with the most obvious ones, and that is food delivery or grocery delivery services like Instacart, Postmates, Uber Eats, GoPuff, you know, all of those things that you can do on the road. You can set your own hours. You're really flexible. I know people who make a lot of money doing this. I have picked up DoorDash and GoPuff in the past and have done those things when I've been sticking around to certain areas. I usually did it really early in the morning and in the evenings because of the dog. It was just easier to be able to run in and out of restaurants when it wasn't so hot outside, and to go grocery shopping just the same way I would for myself. They're usually pretty quick as long as you pass a background check that you can get accepted, and you can start making deliveries pretty quickly and make money pretty fast. The second one is going to be TaskRabbit. Same thing. If you have a certain handyman skill or just kind of task skill, or you can run errands or anything like that, you can sign up to be a like TaskRabbit worker, and you just go and do kind of odd jobs around people's homes or do errands for them. Same thing. Super easy to get accepted, but you do need to have extra skills or be more open to learning some more things so you can do a good job and have good reviews and continue to get paid. Third one I'm going to mention is Fiverr. So if you have some sort of a like online skill that you already have worked in, or that you just have as a hobby, or that you can do, you can list that on Fiverr. So whether that is designing websites, designing logos, copywriting, copy editing, social media management, virtual assisting, all of those things. There are even things on there like music producing, podcast editing, video editing. If you have any sort of creative kind of skill, you can list that on Fiverr and be able to work again as a freelancer. But there are a lot of creators out there that specialize in Fiverr, so I would look that up. So the next one is camp hosting. So if you guys didn't know already, most campgrounds operate off of camp hosts, which they either hire one or two people that are a couple to run the front desk, do some maintenance around the campground, and work in exchange to pay for their site, and then maybe get like a little bit of an hourly rate. It's not something that is going to make you rich by any means, but it's more of like a part-time job basically to pay for your campsite. So you're working in exchange for your campsite, and then you are also getting a little bit of a hourly wage on top of that. And almost every campground operates off of this, and they usually go seasonally. So you can look up either through KOAs or on Indeed, or just calling around campgrounds in your area and see if they need a camp host. And a lot of the times they are hiring because people move around a lot. They are seasonal jobs. It's not like you have to be dedicated to that campground for the rest of your life. But say you want to stay in California for the summer, but campsites are really expensive. Maybe you can get a camp hosting job and exchange work for your campsite. So So the next thing is that seasonal resorts also need workers as well. And a lot of these actually provide housing with them. So if you go on places like coolworks.com and search up seasonal work, or even if you go on Indeed and things like that and search places that need seasonal workers with housing, tons more places than you would realize would come up. And you even on Coolworks, you can sort by whether they're pet friendly or not as well. I have found a couple jobs through this. Not a lot of them work out. Sometimes you have to really make sure you vet the places that you're going to go. But if you need housing with your job, these are great options to have. It's places like national parks or resorts outside of really popular places like in Jackson Hole that need housekeepers or cooks or servers or things like that. And then you are basically just working there through a certain season, and then you can leave and they provide you housing. Some of them do, some of them don't. But it really depends on what area you want to be in and what kind of job you want. Most of them are basic entry-level jobs because they are seasonal jobs. So they know that there's a lot of turnover. They know that you have to learn pretty quickly, and they're mostly just customer service anyways. So as long as you can be nice to people and you can complete some tasks, a lot of the times it's not too hard to get some of these jobs. Another kind of interesting one I've seen come up a lot lately is becoming a notary. If you are staying in one state or you are staying in a few different states, if you're only traveling between a few, getting your license to become a notary, you can just be a mobile notary and go around and notarize people's documents. I have seen people make a lot of money this way, especially just advertising online and booking online. Like I said, this is just a quick list, so there are a lot of other creators that go into super depth detail through all of these different jobs, but becoming a notary can be one of those things that you can do if you are willing to travel to businesses and kind of be busy popping around all day being a notary. There is another app called Wonolo that helps you find overnight jobs, fulfillment jobs, warehouse jobs, etc. that have open shifts. So same thing, these are not going to be super glamorous jobs, but if you do need to work overnights, say you have a pet or something that can't be left in the car during the day because it's hot, these are how you can pick up overnight shifts and not be committed to one place. You can pick up these shifts as you need them and just get paid independently. Going hand in hand with that, there is an app called Merchandiser, which is very similar. Same thing. You are going into places like Target, Walmart, etc., where you are just doing shelf stocking and merchandising. If you've ever done that retail experience, it can be kind of a boring job, but at the same time, you can work overnight and you are just kind of given a set plan on how to stock shelves and things like that and how things are supposed to be arranged. Especially around season changes and holidays, there are tons of retail businesses that pick up a ton of shift workers for overnights to change different sets. You can pick up shifts to change floor set plans and all of that to be a merchandiser. The next one is seasonal farm work. I think people forget about farms and that they need extra hands. If you like animals, if you like being outside, if that is your thing, if you need an active job, there's also a beet harvest that's pretty popular with travelers because you only go for a certain number of weeks. You make I think it's $1,000 to $1,500 a week working at this beet harvest, and you just kind of then can stack up your cash and then leave, and they provide campsites and things like that. So I would check in on Indeed or online and just look up seasonal farm work. I know that there's some places that also with the farm work exchange housing as well, or if they don't have housing, they do have a provided campsite and maybe an outhouse or showers or something obviously for you to use. But there are a lot of options within the kind of outdoor sector with that as well. This one is great if you are tired of being in your car, you're in a really hot area, or you just need a break from living in your car or van life or travel in general. So house sitting can be a really great option. Like I said, this isn't going to bring you actual income, but you are working in exchange to be living in a house for a short period of time. You should go check out Not Lux's YouTube channel. They have tons of information about how to do house sitting because they do a lot of it as a couple. They live out of an ambulance, especially when their ambulance need work or things like that. They pick up a house sitting job and then their rig can go into the shop. But like I said, this isn't going to bring you actual cash, but if you want to be living in a house for a little bit, there are people who do this full time where they do not rent Airbnbs or apartments or anything like that, and they just jump jump from house sit to house sit and car camp in between. The next one I think a lot of people forget about, but bartending, serving, coffee shop working, and even working hotel overnight. These jobs can all be done obviously in any part of the country, and they are places who have a lot of turnover already. So say you want to stay in the same kind of area for about 6 weeks, you can pick up a serving job, a bartending job, a hotel housekeeping, hotel front desk, or even like a little family coffee shop. Just be honest obviously about how long you're willing to stay, but most of the time they're pretty flexible with work, and a lot of them you can pick up night shifts if you are traveling with a pet. I think a lot of people forget that just regular kind of service industry jobs already have a lot of turnover. They're not expecting you to stay there for the rest of your life. They're pretty much the same across the board, and that you can pick up those skills pretty quickly. The next one requires a little more education and licensing, but there are a few people in the community that I know personally that do pilot car driving. You obviously need to take a course and get certified in pilot car driving. There's a lot more that goes into it than just driving the pilot car, but you don't need any sort of specific kind of rig. It's not like truck driving where you need a certain license and things like that, but you do need the certification obviously. You can be gone for a few days at a time, or depending on how long you're contracted for, and then you can kind of work on and off and pick up different schedules as you need them. I do know that it is a little bit more of an intense process. Again, you'll have to look up that process on your own and what state you're in, etc. But there are more than a few people that do it. It is super easy to get accepted on WAG and Rover if you are a pet lover, and you can walk dogs, and you can do that in any city or anywhere that you're traveling, and even do dog sitting or pet sitting inside somebody else's home. Obviously you can't offer pet sitting in your own rig, but you can go into their house and do pet sitting. I know from personal experience, when I would travel, I wanted Pippa to have her routine set, and I didn't want her to go to, you know, a doggy daycare or something like that. So I always had the pet sitters come stay in my own apartment. They just stayed in my spare bedroom. So I know from experience that people do it, and it works out really well. So if you really love animals, I would say try just dog walking or pet sitting. Especially on WAG and Rover, you can set your own rates and things like that, and what area you're working in. Another one is maybe getting a job at Anytime or Planet Fitness. If you are staying in a certain area for a longer period of time, working at Anytime Fitness, Planet Fitness, or a local gym, especially if it's a 24-hour gym, you can say that you would want to work overnights. If you have a pet, then you have somewhere to park overnight, and you have somewhere to shower, work out, and possibly even sleep if they allow overnight parking. Another one is working possibly at some sort of doggy daycare. If you find a doggy daycare in the area that needs hourly workers, same thing. Maybe if they have overnight boarding, they need an overnight worker, and they'll probably be pretty open to letting you bring your pet into work with you. I've known multiple people who live in houses who just have dogs with separation anxiety that they've been allowed to bring their pet to work with them when they've worked at a doggy daycare if your dog is well socialized. And so it would work no different than when you're traveling. I would just say, if you're going to bond with a bunch of dogs and a lot of pets and things like that, to be in an area for more than like a month or two. But if you're maybe somewhere for the winter and you want to pick up that extra job and you need somewhere to bring your pet, what a better place than to work at a doggy daycare. Same with like a pet store or something like that. So many people forget about fast food options. I know it is not a glamorous job to work in fast food. It's not fun. There are, you know, wild customers and things like that. But you have to think of places that have high turnover that would be hiring regularly. And with the rise of kind of the discussion around minimum wage, a lot of those places are pretty well paid anymore. And that same thing, you can work overnights or later shifts. Most of these jobs pay to train you and get you up and started as fast as possible, since these jobs do tend to have a lot of turnover, and so you can pick them up for the time that you're in the area and then move on. I know a lot of people, especially who go to Quartzsite in the winter, work at the local like McDonald's, Subway, etc., so they can have that job while they're parked in the Quartzsite long-term visitor area. And then when the city kind of closes for the summer season, they just move on and go somewhere else. Be a seasonal worker in state parks or national parks. They are always hiring for people who need to, you know, take tickets for people to pay the day pass and, you know, work at those front entrances or to work in gift shops. You may not necessarily have to be a camp host, but you may be able to work in exchange for some sort of campsite, even if you're not working in the actual campground of the park. But you can work a different type of job, even just like groundskeeping or some sort of housekeeping if they do have cabins and things like that, or just working, you know, general customer service. Then you can kind of get the advantage of getting to see national parks and getting to spend time in them, but also getting to be there for free. Also, outside of national parks or state parks or even just in other areas, there is a lot of tour guides that go through these kind of national park or like popular monument kind of areas. So you could apply to be some sort of tour guide, whether that's a walking tour guide, a bus tour guide, etc. Same thing. They're always hiring for seasonal workers. Like, for example, there's tons of places that drive obviously through the Grand Canyon or do the pink Jeep tours or in Sedona, or, you know, drive through Garden of the Gods in Colorado. You can pick up some of these jobs, even if you're just working at their offices, answering the phones and booking. They have times where obviously seasonally they get busier and then they slow down. Don't rule these out as something that you could possibly do, especially if you like the outdoors. These last two are ones that are very popular as well. So the first one is teaching English online. There are tons and tons and tons and tons of resources on how to teach online. If you have any sort of educational background, you can be able to pick up how to teach English online and take classes that way. I know a ton of people who have made money doing this. It is a little more difficult to do when you're living in a small space, but it is not unheard of to be able to do it. But if you have a passion for teaching, a lot of people do it. And the last one is online writing. People need ghostwriters for everything, from blog posts to copywriting to, you know, copy on emails that they send out for brands, editing, things like that. There are so many Facebook groups that you can go and look for online writing jobs. You would be surprised how much writing still needs to be done in the world, whether that's just from like product description on like clothing websites and things like that, to I did a few writing jobs for a woman who produced Amazon crossword and word search books, where I was having to come up with all of the word lists and make sure everything fit together. And I did that. I found her through a Facebook group where they posted writing jobs and things like that. So there is so much content that needs to be written still these days, that even though we feel like we don't read as much, there are so many things out there that need to be written. If you have any experience with SEO, you can pick up writing jobs super easy. And if you don't know about SEO and that's something though that you want to specialize in, so you can make a little bit more money writing for websites or blog posts or product descriptions or things like that, you can learn SEO super easily on your own just by taking either some online courses or watching YouTube. I hope this video gave you some ideas for what you can do to work on the road. And while they may not all be glamorous jobs, they are things that you can do to make money on the road. And sometimes we have to sacrifice a little bit of what we need to do for work so we can stay traveling. So I hope this helped, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!